and welcome to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We're so glad that you can be with us today. We are brought to you, as always, by progressivechristianity.org, an incredible place to get all of your progressive Christian resource needs. Today, we're adding a couple of other sponsors as well. The Progressive Christian Alliance denomination, but not in the traditional sense, rallying around principles of justice, respect, and inclusion, and the Christian Left, which has been a significant presence online, helping you think about how you can engage in Christianity and progressive politics. I am joined, as always, by the one and only Mark Sandlin. How you doing today, Mark?
I am doing well, and I just heard great celebrations when you said one and only. People like, thank God there's only one of them.
I think we could use some more folks with your vision and energy and advocacy, Mark. I would be okay with a few more Mark Sandlins around, but we've only got
I'll take it.
one. So I celebrate you, Mark, and I'm glad you're
fantastic.
here.
And I celebrate you. This will be a good time together, right?
It will be a good time together as we talk about the Star Trek version of Suicide Squad, Section 31. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of interesting conversations about that. It's relatively new. If you haven't seen it, this is a place where we will spoil it for you. And so we give this disclaimer at the beginning of every episode. But still, people will join like later in the show and they'll be like, oh, you spoiled it. Like, okay, yes, but spoiler alert up front.
We can't say it constantly. So
we can't say it constantly. So this is your one and only warning that we're going to spoil it for you. Hope you will subscribe to the Moonshine Jesus Show wherever you get your podcasts. Hope you will also follow all of our sponsors. And we're going to get into this, but before we do, we're going to need some drinks. Do you have a drink with you today, Mark?
I have made up a drink today. I have combined one of my favorite beverages, bourbon, Blue Curacao, and Sprite. I'm calling it a Blue Alert. I am serving it in my Star Trek Discovery glass, and I'm pretty excited about enjoying it throughout the show. How about you? What did you decide to go with?
So I went with a drink I found called a Warp Core Breach, and I felt like that was appropriate. I also felt like it was a pretty good descriptor of the movie, a Warp Core Breach. It's made with white rum, spiced rum, dark rum, lots of rum, guava juice, strawberry juice, cranberry juice, lime juice, and Cointreau. And so I've got this in a Star Trek glass too, and it comes out with a nice shade of red. Nice. But it's not Discovery. It's got Kirk there.
That's okay.
Cheers to you, Mark.
Cheers to you, sir. Here's to a great show.
See you after a drop.
Moonshine Jesus. Moonshine Jesus. Moonshine Jesus. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Hello and welcome to the Moonshine Jesus Show. You're joining us for our Geek Out segment where we will proceed to, geek out about the television show or movie that we are featuring for today. Today we're featuring Section 31, which is a spinoff of Discovery. It's a one-time 80-minute movie that's a spinoff of Discovery about Section 31, the dark forces, the people they send out when they don't want to send anyone else out and they don't want people to know about it. I'm not going to go into too many more details about this particular, because, in case y'all haven't picked up on it, I don't think that Caleb or I really felt like it's deserving of us over promoting it. So I want to just jump right on in with that said, Caleb, and just get, what was your general feelings about this show?
Well, I feel a little bad because I pushed for this and you had seen it and I hadn't. I'm like, let's watch Section 31. And I didn't read a thing about it. And I'm like, oh, wait, maybe this was a mistake. And, Queenie Majin is watching and commented, I hated everything about it. I don't know that I hated everything.
I raise my glass to Queenie. I don't quite hate everything, but I certainly appreciate the sentiment.
I do too. I mean, the critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes reads beam it out of here, Scotty. And it has a 20% fresh rating and
Wow.
16%
Wow.
popcorn meter. I guess I described it as a suicide meets Star Trek, and that
Yeah.
is kind of how I felt. I felt like that's what they were going for,
Yeah.
and I actually felt like they were trying to get a similar tone to James Gunn's Suicide
Mm,
Squad,
mm.
but didn't quite land. Like it was trying to be kind of funny, kind of dark, and it felt like we didn't ever get any of those places. It felt like the plot was contrived. It felt like I'm not sure what we were really shooting for here.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a Star Trek movie, but I mean Michelle Yao, she was great.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
who-
She always
what
is.
what'd you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think the key of what you just said was it didn't feel like a Star Trek movie.
Mhm.
It barely felt like a Star Trek episode. I mean, if it was so un-Star Trek. I mean,
Yeah,
there was just so much about it that felt like it didn't fit. It felt like it ignored all the things that make Star Trek great, the reasons why we love it. I mean, Star Trek is one of the original sci-fi shows that gave us hope for a better future and gave
yeah,
us reasons to hope for that. And there wasn't, I mean, they didn't even pretend like they were going to do that.
no,
And then let's get into this point. So from a just purely production standpoint,
yeah,
did this feel like a big budget Trek movie?
no.
Right, right.
I mean,
I
it
mean,
was like I was sitting there, I was watching this, and I'm like, "What's the difference between this and a Star Trek Discovery episode?" And I mean, I think maybe
right.
that's part of the thing is that Discovery is a weird show to try and have a spin-off movie of because
Yeah,
Discovery was really a pretty divisive Star Trek show.
sure,
And I
sure.
I mean, even amongst hardcore fans, maybe especially amongst hardcore fans, and I really felt like Discovery didn't find its ground until it skipped forward into the future, and
I
so the
agree
last couple of
completely.
seasons, by the time it lost everybody,
Yeah,
and so I felt like this was a weird movie to have, and it wasn't released in theaters, obviously, just to Paramount
yeah.
Plus, and it's the first Star Trek movie we've gotten since Star Trek Beyond, and what
Mm,
was that,
it's been a
9
while.
years ago or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that?
I think
So
8 or
this was
9, yeah.
a weird place to go. It feels like if they were gonna do a movie, I
Yeah,
feel like a big budget movie, and Strange New Worlds crew. I think Strange New Worlds crew is the way to go because people are pretty behind Strange New Worlds.
oh,
Everyone
yeah,
kind of loves that. So
absolutely.
it no, but production wise, it felt like an episode of Star Trek Discovery, but
Yeah,
like a bad episode. I
a
don't know. It
bad
was cool.
episode that was stretched out too long. They
Yeah,
literally it felt like, they wrote this as an episode, like, as one episode, like a regular and then somebody went, "Oh, you think Michelle, now that she's won the Oscar, you think she'll come back and, do this show?" And someone went, "I don't know. What if we told her it was a movie?" And so I mean, I feel like they did that, and then they had to stretch it out, and then how they stretched it out was they put in 2 or 3 really long, drawn out, dialogue free fight scenes.
yep.
So not Star Trek again. Like they kept
Wasn't
like
so? Wouldn't the
intentionally
plan for this
missing
to
the beat.
Wouldn't the plan for this to be like a series? And then with
I
Michelle
believe it
Yeoh's,
was.
with her Oscar and her like catapulting to
Yeah.
success, or I guess she's not going to do a series. I
Mhm.
think you're right. I
Exactly.
think so.
I
I
think
think you're
that's yeah.
exactly right. I think that was the initial plan,
Yeah.
and so they made it into a movie instead, hoping to capitalize on her fame. And I think it
Yeah.
did not.
Yeah,
It
the
did not
problem was
deliver.
they didn't help her out, did they? She
No.
was incredible, but they threw obstacle after obstacle in front of her. I did feel like there was one
Lot.
area that maybe
Other actors. Sorry, I'm just naming things that they threw
yeah,
in front of her. Poor
yeah, it was
production.
just unbelievable. Poor production. Although I would say, and see if you agree. I'm wondering if you agree with this. I did feel like there was one production element that stood out, and that really was the cinematography.
It
There
was good.
was
It was
it
good.
was some beautiful, and the set design was pretty nice, and the costume design was pretty good too. There was, I think the rest of it was so bad that it overshadowed some really good work that was done, because those three things in particular, set design, costume design, cinematography, I thought were great. I thought they really kind of nailed their jobs pretty well. What
I
was
mean, surely some of that though they already had from production of Discovery stuff, right? I mean, some of that
To a
surely they
degree,
had.
but if you think about it, this isn't set in any world that we've seen in Discovery. It's not.
True.
There's hardly not on any ships that we've seen
Well, how
before.
about the
Like,
Terran stuff? Season 2 of
I,
Discovery,
I
they
guess
spent
we
that
saw
whole
some of
year in
Terran.
like
Yeah,
the mirror
yeah,
universe thing. Do you think
yeah.
they reused any of that,
I
or
would
maybe
hope.
it's all been gone? Maybe it's complete new stuff. I don't know.
I
But
don't know, but if they did reuse it, then at least they reused some of the good stuff and made it. But it's just that those are the few areas that I thought. And here, let's just keep talking about the issues. I'm wondering, from your take, does
yeah,
Section 31's willingness to engage in clandestine and potentially unethical activities, not even potentially, we know from Deep
yeah,
Space Nine that that's what they're known for.
yeah.
Does that align with the Federation's ideals of peace and exploration?
I mean, that's always
I mean,
been one
how
of the
does it, right?
major problems with Section 31, and even in Deep Space Nine, when it
Yeah.
came and
I mean, when they
people,
tried to recruit the doctor or someone from Deep
yeah,
Space
yeah,
Nine,
yeah, Dr.
there was
Bashir.
this almost a big speech of why no, y'all are not what we're supposed to be. Why would I want anything to do with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's problematic, and I and I think it also represents some of the big problems with Trek's identity in
Hmm.
recent times. I think Discovery was a case in point of Star Trek not knowing quite what to be in in the 21st century,
Yeah,
but I feel like Strange New Worlds is really a course correct in a way that we want to
I agree.
see.
Yes.
I because it's hopeful, and I feel like we really need that right now. I mean, one of the things that's always appealed to me about Star Trek is that it's like, okay, hey, through just being good human beings, we can create a better world. Like, yeah, there are lots of challenges, but if we really work together, we can overcome the evils of capitalism and the
Right.
evils of like of a human desire for greed and all this stuff. And I feel like I need that and I want that from Star Trek, because the rest of it, like the moral shadiness and stuff, we can get anywhere. And
Yeah.
so I don't really like the focus on Section 31 to begin with, I think. And I also feel like maybe just the way we focused on that was not particularly
Yeah.
helpful either. So,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Section 31 had its place in Deep Space Nine. That was an intentionally kind of darker kind of take on Star
yeah.
Trek. But here's the thing, and one of the things that made it work was that they kind of jumped into the moral complexities of
Mhm.
what they were doing and the ethical outfall of who they were, and what that meant about the powers that be, that they were going to express these higher ideals, but in the right time and the right moment for the what they would deem right reasons, were willing to send in this kind of dark ops group, and they were willing to kind of deal with that. Why do you think? I mean, they didn't even look at that in this movie. You had all
No.
this extra time. Uh, it, why would they not? What did they miss out an opportunity to give some
Yeah,
complexity,
they
some meaning,
absolutely did. I
and
mean,
plug it back into Star Trek?
I think you're also pointing to the fact why, like, Deep Space Nine was one of the really superior and underappreciated Star
Absolutely
Trek
was.
shows, because
Yeah,
they did the same thing with the Dominion War. Like, they spent what was it, all of season 5 or something at war, but then afterwards they showed the impacts on people's lives, like dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder and all of this stuff. And so
yeah,
they really dug into that moral complexity in the way that you're talking about that in a number of ways. So yeah, if anything, this show seemed to kind of idealize the moral ambiguity and to say, well, sometimes you need
Well,
the Star Trek Suicide Squad to come in here and clean up your mess. You need people who are willing to bend the rules. And I'm not really sure that's the message we need right now. I'm not sure it's
no,
what I wanted to hear.
I completely
Yeah.
agree. And I think I could have let them get away with it. Like, I believe, and it's a shame that I have to say I believe, and I can't be certain about this. I believe that this is supposed to be in some way a redemption story for Giorgio,
Yeah.
but it never really lands. And you almost can say, like, that the dark ops, the section 31, that has some purpose if it can help move forward a redemption story about a person who's the butcher of millions. It's but we don't even get that, man. I mean,
We do not.
I mean, what was the higher moral dilemma that was supposed to be solved in this show? What was the overall arc of a character development that would have given it meaning? Was there? There wasn't, was there?
There's all I can do is shrug my shoulders to that, Mark, because I was sitting there thinking, well, one, like, okay, can she experience redemption after killing billions of people?
Right.
What does that even look like? What could they even do to make this character redeemable? And they didn't answer that question for us, nor
No.
did they really give us. I guess she saved her dimension from the device that she created. It
Right,
didn't feel it did not feel like a real arc. It felt like a
No.
continued trajectory. And so yeah, it fell short. It fell short in all those ways. You know what I did like though, Mark?
What's that?
Yeah, because I just thought of this. Something that I actually did, I thought was kind of fun, is I thought, I would describe this as Star Trek meets Suicide Squad, but I would also add some Temple of Doom elements in there because
Oh, yeah?
Giorgio was like eating an eyeball. It like
That was great.
it like
Yeah.
started out at a club.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there was a little bit of
like that. There was like that chase
there was an
where
art,
they were like
sort
in
of
a
an art
tunnel.
thing.
Yeah, and so I'm like, hey, I like this because it reminds me of a far superior movie, and
That just tells me
those
how
elements are pretty
that just
good,
tells me how desperately you were trying to cling to something that would be fun. The only thing that I really loved was the cinematography. And then that got messed up so many times through the editing where they did really clunky bad. Anyway,
Oh, Mark, come on! You had a positive. Don't ruin it.
It wasn't me that was ruining it. It was the people who edited the movie that ruined it. All right, we could go on complaining about so many more things, but instead, why don't we try to turn this into something positive? Let's take a quick break and come back and talk about some of the theological, political things that it did legitimately bring up that we could maybe pull something, redeemable out of. We'll catch y'all after this break.
Welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. Today we're talking about Section 31, the most recent Star Trek movie, for those of you who just hopped on. And we're entering our Theopolitico segment, where we are talking about theology and politics. And I think I want to start right where we ended, Mark, about redemption. So I really want to dig into this.
Yeah.
She was an unjust emperor.
Yes.
She did not
Killed her
care
family.
about. She didn't care who she killed. She killed her own family. That's
Yep.
part of her backstory that we get to
Mhm.
see. Which just again, like, I feel like I wish there was a more compelling backstory for her. We finally get to see this backstory, and but whatever. Okay, so she kills her family, and she's willing to she's willing to kill all of the citizens of her empire. Mark, they did not give us a redemption arc. Is a redemption arc possible for her, and what would it have looked like?
No.
Yeah.
There's the rare character, the rare person who there is no redemption arc. The person who created such atrocities and evil that full redemption is not going to be possible. That you've brought so much misery, you've sacrificed so many ethical decisions, that the outcomes will reverberate generation through generation through generation through generation. You can step closer towards redemption sometimes. And I think that's what we needed. And I think that they maybe were overcome with what I was just describing, that maybe we have this irredeemable character, but rather than give her this kind of moment of regret, of deep, heartbreaking, life-shattering regret, where they then begin to put her on a path of what redemption is possible, taking steps towards it, knowing we won't ever arrive there in a lifetime. I think that that's the best we could have hoped for.
Yeah.
And in life, I mean, you take a Hitler. That's not going to be a redeemable life. If there was ever any real regret and they moved and started stepping towards it, where at least you could say there was some redemption, but it wasn't redeemed. Anyway, that's a little bit of a dark outlook on redemption, unfortunately, but I do think it's very real. In a few cases, her character happens to be a representative of those types of folks. What do you think?
I think you're right. I mean, you can't kill billions of people on purpose, too, and feel
Yeah,
like there's ever any chance for you
yeah,
to make up for that in your life. And even in the show, the one chance we see is her personal relationship with somebody, a personal
hmm
opportunity to feel love, and yet that doesn't even really
that
get
even get
realized. It's not real love. There's no sacrifice. There's no
hmm
anything. But I do think that, like, when we experience redemption, a lot of times it is through personal relationships. It is
That's
through
fair.
other
Yeah.
people who pull us towards the good. And
hmm
I think that church, when it's at its best, does that. That if religion is being practiced the way it's supposed to be practiced, it's like
Yeah.
constantly calling us to our greater good, and it's
Mm.
calling us to do better in the world.
Yeah.
So Philippa, she does kill her family, and she says an emperor must remain loyal only to the empire. Thus does it remain strong. So the only way that an empire can be strong is if an emperor is loyal only to the empire. So I'm curious, Mark, if you think that that's true, and then I'm also curious if you think um, that if somebody's what, or I'm curious what happens when someone is only loyal to themselves. Like, what if somebody's not
Mhm.
loyal to the empire at all, and they're
Yeah.
only loyal to themselves? Well,
Well, first of all, do I think that that's true? No, I think that's bullshit. Uh, if you're not connected to the people of the empire, you don't understand the empire. And as a matter of fact, what you said continued my answer to the question, is that if you're not loyal to the people of the empire, then you are the empire. You're only being loyal to yourself. It is a self-aggrandizing position to take.
Mhm.
Uh, and you're going to make decisions that are going to only benefit you. And thankfully, in the United States, we have laws that prevent anyone from only making decisions that benefit themselves. I mean, we have laws that, if they're enforced,
Wait. You don't think there's a danger of someone abusing? those
kind of
laws, do
feel
you?
like I kind of feel like maybe over the last 200 some years, maybe we should have recognized the faults and augmented it in a way to make sure that they were enforced. Oh no, I all of a sudden I'm seeing maybe there was a glitch in the system. I hope nobody evil recognizes it and decides to
Oh, I
take
hope not.
advantage of it.
Luckily, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
Luckily.
thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, Mark. That like whenever we have our leaders, in theory, we would hope would be the best of us who care, who rise up and care the most about people,
Right.
right? That's what democracy is
Absolutely.
supposed to be. Power of the people. We're all supposed to be in this together. We're supposed to be
Absolutely.
trying to ensure that the legislation that's passed, that the laws that are here are laws that are for the betterment of everyone, for
Yeah.
the betterment of
Yeah.
society, and that is uh, clearly not
Mm.
what the current administration is in for. And I was just sitting there listening to that, and I thought, okay, Donald Trump is not even just loyal to the empire for the empire's sake. Not even because I think we've had a lot of presidents who just care about sustaining U.S. power and
Mhm.
dominance, and I think that's uh, has been a fairly common theme
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
and but I don't think Donald Trump is even interested in just seeing the US succeed. I think he is only interested in
Oh, yeah.
himself, in what is
That
best for himself. And
fully the only thing he's interested in, because it's clear he constantly, matter of fact, he seems to have been convinced, whether he did it himself or outside influences have convinced him, that destroying most of the things that matter
Mhm,
to the citizens is the best thing for him personally, because
mhm,
he makes
mhm.
decisions over and over again that are really hurting a vast majority of the people of the empire. Um, and when he's called out on it, he either gets mad or doubles down on it, or sometimes both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And clearly, I think we're doing shock and awe here too about how
Yeah.
much stuff we can do all at once to
Mm,
distract as really important things are
absolutely.
stripped away, and so it's terrifying,
Yeah.
which is a theme I would like to continue discussing here
Okay.
as we talk about tyranny. And so one of the other quotes here from Alok was, "For tyrants, there is only one choice: murder." And so we are, Mark, seeing ourselves descend to a place that's pretty scary in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
are seeing democracy destabilized. We have been placed, as you know, on democracy watch lists here,
Mhm.
and on lists where democracy is in danger. The United
Mhm.
States has been a part of destabilizing democracies all around the world, and we have used similar tactics to create
Oh yeah.
fear and anxiety and this shock and awe kind of thing.
Mhm.
I'm curious, Mark, whenever we have seen tyrants take over, it does often include murder. It does often include violent oppression of citizens. Do you think that in the United States, because this is something that I've been really scared about, I think, as
Yeah.
I've seen our democracy destabilize, do you think we're heading to a place where there's going to be violence against the citizens? Do you think we're headed to a place where we might see some kind of genocide in the United States like we saw in Germany in
Yeah.
1930s?
Man, that's a big question. I don't think there's much doubt, looking at the way that the administration reacts to challenges,
Mhm.
that we have a pretty strong chance that there's going to be some degree of violence that is going to be directed at naysayers, at least who they see as naysayer. I would call them truth tellers.
Mhm.
Um, so I think, yes, there is the possibility of some very targeted, not possibility. I'm sure that that's going to happen. I think
Yeah.
history proves that out,
Mhm.
which is hysterical for a whole group of people in the administration who want to claim that they somehow are Christians and follow Christian belief systems. We're gonna see it go to there, because they're already showing their hand that they're going that way,
Yeah.
and that's frightening. It's so frightening. I'm already. I'm saying this publicly in many places. I'm already walking around carrying my passport with me. As one of the people who's out there, just like yourself, who's trying to call them out and say, here's what's true, here's what's real, and here's what love really looks like. I'm worried.
Yeah.
For all of us that are doing that, but we need people that like us that are doing that. As to genocide, I want to believe, and this is probably me being too much of an optimist, maybe. I like to think it's a realist. I think that things are so significantly different in the United States now than what Germany was when it happened in Germany, in that we have what you and I are doing right now. We have more forms of communication. We have more people have access to different schools of thought and ways of understanding. That I want to believe that is ultimately going to be enough that we won't. There's going to be enough folks that are informed and recognize it as evil that we're going to not allow it. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, yeah, and the people back in Germany were reading newspapers and heard and had naysayers, and it's harder to get a control on the national narrative now than it was. But I do have to admit there are moments that I worry that's not enough. But I think it is significantly different enough that it could be. I don't know. Am I overly optimistic about that?
I think it's really hard to say at this point. It's something that I have been worried about, though. For instance, I had a visitor at church yesterday who was in San Diego and was staying at a hotel, and said early in the morning at the hotel, maybe 1 a.m. or something, he heard a lot of ruckus outside. So he's like, oh, well, there must be some kind of an emergency or something.
Sure.
And he went to the window, looked outside, and no, it was not an emergency. It was an ICE raid at the hotel. And so that's just like at a hotel. And so this feels a lot like Nazi Germany and the Gestapo and people being rounded up, because these ICE raids, of course, are happening all around the country. People are being denied their rights, and the whole carrying your passport thing makes a lot of sense. So I think that's scary. One thing, though, that I find hope in, that maybe like you find hope in all the different forms of communication, man. I find a lot of hope in people taking to the streets and all the activism that people are doing.
Absolutely.
Like this past weekend, the hands off stuff.
That was
incredible. There were like 5 million people or something like that were out in the streets saying, no, hands off. Like, people are justifiably outraged. And I find hope in the outrage, in the righteous anger, in people being willing to take to the streets. And so I'm hoping that enough people are outraged to say, no, not here. No, we're not going to let that happen. So I would love to continue talking about dictatorship and Emperor Giorgio. But you know what? If we do that, we won't get to our favorite segment, the Make Me Look Stupid segment. And we
can't
have
have
got
that.
to do that. No, we cannot have that. So why don't we take a break, come back, and try to make each other look stupid.
Welcome to the Make Me Look Stupid segment of the show, where we proceed to try to make each other either look stupid, or we try to, as casually as possible, admit that we feel stupid and ask a question to get a little clarification, or we ask our co-hosts sometimes to make a prediction so we can make them look stupid in the future. I'm going to pick the middle road here.
I was going to say, what kind of future prediction could I possibly make about this? if they make another one of these,
I can make a future prediction if they do. It's the end of the Star Trek franchise.
There you go.
That's my future prediction if they make another one of these.
Money. Why bother? So okay.
All right. So here's mine. It's kind of the middle road of trying to understand. There's so many things in this movie that it's just like it just doesn't make sense. It's hard to understand. I need some help and clarification. What is exactly the God send weapon really capable of? And it's a two-part question.
Yeah.
Just the fact that I'm asking the question, why was something that supposedly dangerous so underexplained in a movie about espionage and existential threats? I don't understand.
Because it was the MacGuffin. That's it was just it was just for them to go on their adventure. And the best I understood is it's like a biological weapon similar to the poison that they ingest, right? That she killed her family with.
Yes, I see. That just tells you how badly they explained it. 'Cause I thought that it was like some kind of massive atomic nuclear on top of subatomic bomb thing that would blow up like half of the I don't know, the galaxy that they were in,
or
or maybe
whatever. I thought it was a biological weapon that
It might have been. I
spread
don't know.
across that still killed like the same number of people
Yeah.
you're talking about, but did it like
Like,
as a
without
biological
destroying
weapon instead of like
planets.
instead of like an explosion or something.
Maybe so. I only tried to watch the movie 3 times, so I don't know.
You watched it
I
3 times?
No.
You
I
tried.
tried to watch it 3 times. I only watched it once.
I feel okay. I feel a little bit bad about this because I pushed for this for like a few weeks. I'm like, how about Section 31, Mark? It's got to be good. It's a Star Trek movie. How about Section 31? You're like, I don't know.
It's okay.
Caleb. And
I
I'm
did
like,
say I said there are things that we can talk about because politically there's things to talk about. and look, in some ways this is really good because you and I are such fan people that it's hard to make a movie that we can't like, or a television show that we can't find redeeming qualities of.
Well, that's right.
It's good. It's good.
Clergy.
It's
We
good
want to
for
find redemption.
Yes, it's good for our listeners to realize that we can absolutely just lose it on a really bad and be honest and frank about it. So there you go.
Well, yeah, because I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, wait, I'm like, Mark doesn't like this, does he? And I thought this has got to be really bad if I don't like it, because I like pretty much all Star Trek stuff, like all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is bad. So anyway, sorry that I can't. Sorry that I can't help you.
That's
Mark,
okay. I
that
appreciate
question.
you trying because I don't have an answer either. I really.
Does that mean we both look stupid, or does that mean we made the writers of that movie?
Ooh, let's
stupid?
go there. Let's go there. Let's say that we made the writers look stupid. I like that answer.
Okay, so
I've
got another question along the same stream, Mark.
All right.
So there were 3 points in the movie where it like broke the action to do like a mission briefing, and and so and then the opening scene kind of like was from like a first person.
It was
kind of like, were they trying to make this seem like a video game, or what was up with like the mission brief? Who was that for? What was the purpose of that?
All right. That's a crutch for bad writing. That's when you don't want to show the audience what is happening. You don't want to present it to them and let them formulate. You want a quick and easy way for a setup where you don't have to show anything. It's just tell. No show, all tell. That's what that is. And the moment that it happened, that was the first time I was like, oh crap.
But Mark, that was really early on.
No. That was when I was like, uh-oh. The moment I hear that kind of thing, the writer brain goes off and I go, oh no.
But what about the first person stuff?
This is
what
like
was that about? Why were they in that one scene showing like a first person kind of thing?
I don't know what that first person thing. I think that was an undeveloped concept that they probably had thought they were going to do in a lot of flashbacks and then never did. Like Like, it's such bad writing, man. It just is. It's just both
You're
of
not
them
making
are.
me feel any better
Yeah,
about
I'm
this.
not trying to, man. I'm not trying to.
uh, so I mean, it's clear. I wondered too. I'm like, did they
Oh,
were they going to try and approach this from just a completely different perspective for a while, and then they scratched that, but then they didn't edit those scenes out, or
yeah.
nothing would have been lost if they had just
Between,
cut.
yeah,
Wouldn't
but
have made anything worse.
between the first person viewpoint from the mission status update, here's what we're going to
Yeah.
do, and from the kind of weird edits and cutbacks,
Yeah.
I haven't seen or heard any reports of this. I just have to believe this has been through multiple writing sessions.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there were multiple writers involved, and like that it was so bad the first time they were like, oh, Michelle deserves better than this, let's do it better, and then it wasn't better. And they're oh no, now we really have to bring somebody. I don't know. I don't. Maybe that was it. It was a wreck, man. The whole thing was Michelle was if she was
was
not
bad.
playing the lead role, I'm not sure I would have watched the whole thing.
0% fresh rating. Right.
Exactly.
I'm trying to figure out what the thing cost. Do you know how much this thing cost, Mark?
No, I did not. I never saw
Too
that.
much. Whatever it was.
Whatever it was.
Too much.
Right. Yeah, it was just so bad. All right, so listen.
Yeah.
Let's not tank on this anymore. Let's try to end this at a positive note. We need something for next week. And one of my all-time favorites since I was in middle school, and as you like to point out, that was a long time ago. Yes, thank you very much for that. I appreciate you supporting that. One of my all-time favorite shows since I was in back then, we didn't call it middle school, and I was in junior high, was Doctor Who.
Wait. I thought you were gonna say like when it was in a one-room schoolhouse. We called the one-room schoolhouse. Or...
yeah. Well, that was elementary school. My elementary school was the one where I was. Doctor Who, the new season, the first episode drops this week. I think that we watch that and we kind of talk about what we think about the new season, what might be the outcomes, because I just think that the new Doctor, while he gets classic Whovians kind of give him a bad rap, I really like him. I like his take on the Doctor. I like all the pieces that he brings to the character. So I think that could be a fun thing to talk about. What do you think?
That sounds great. It's on Disney Plus, right?
That is correct. Dropping on Disney Plus on the 12th, I believe.
Okay, I'm in. Let's do it. I like New Doctor too. I really enjoyed his first season. So yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. All right. That is the plan. You have it before you. So all of you make sure that you catch the show before our next show. And with that said, just thank you. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to do the show. It's, as we always say, it's favorite time of the week. So when we get to do this and hang out with y'all and talk about geeky things, talk about theology, talk about politics. So thank you, thank you, thank you. With that said, we'll see you all the next time on the Moonshine Jesus Show.
Moonshine Jesus.